So basically, your prognosis, your assessment, just to be clear, is that things have got worse, not better, in spite of the reforms that the president has put in. I mean, you're not agreeing that obviously reforms take a while to begin to be felt in the country. The removal of fuel subsidy, the regularization of price of cost of Naira and all the rest of it. I mean, you don't think that those things are reforms that needed to be done. Wouldn't you have done that if you were president?
Charles, I believe that reforms take time for people to start seeing the gains of it.
Well, that's what their argument is.
But people have to see a clear roadmap that what they are sacrificing for, let's take fuel subsidy, which they say there's huge savings. Where is the savings being challenged?
Well, they said, for example, and I'm not a spokesman for the government, but I have to play the devil's advocate because they're not here. I mean, they said that, for instance, more money is being given to the states. And if you look at the numbers, I mean, the amount of money that the states are getting, I mean, it's higher than it used to be. Although some are making the argument, and I suspect you're making the same argument, that because of the devaluation of the Naira, what they're getting is not worth anything.
Charles, if you are making a savings, you said, I want to save this money to be able to invest where? You have to invest in critical areas of development. And those critical areas of development are education, health, and pulling people out of poverty. Are we investing in it? Just no. We talked about devaluation of Naira. There's nothing wrong in devaluation. I would have done something. I would have allowed the Naira to float. But I would have done it in an organized manner. There will be productivity. The idea of devaluing your currency, allowing it to float, to be cheaper, is that you have productivity so you can export, so people can come and buy. But when you don't have productivity and you devalue your currency, it's double whammy because you have nothing to sell. So I would have injected money in productivity. Today, nobody is producing anything.
Question for you. Would you agree now, having heard what Peter Obi said about devaluing the currency, floating the currency, removal of subsidy, would you agree with Sowore when he said that he was the only one who stood against subsidy removal, and that removing subsidy, floating the currency, and devaluing the currency would have caused the economy to crash? Would you have agreed that if Peter Obi was in power today, he would have actually crashed the economy just as Bola Tinubu has done with his policies? We're going to ask a lot of intelligent questions in this video. But I think because you've seen this several times, some of these details you would have missed. But how would you have separated this Obi's stance on subsidy, floating the currency, devaluation of the currency from Bola Tinubu's? And how would that have resulted into something different from what we're currently experiencing right now? Because Nigeria is in a recession. The economy is not working, and we're all feeling the pinch. But before we get into the crux of this big conversation here, and I'd like for you to watch it to the end. But if you're meeting this content for the first time, please like, share, and above all, subscribe. We need you to also participate in the content in the comment section as well. Let us know what your thoughts are about these questions. And if you've been following us and you've not yet subscribed, please do so as well. Subscribe and be part of the conversation too in the comment section. But also recommend this channel to others because we want a lot more people to be part of the awareness as well and the need for saving Nigeria come 2027. But in doing so, we need to interact and investigate the policies of our politicians. It's not enough to just say this is the best candidate. Is best candidate based on what? Is it their policies in time past or the antecedent and the history of what they've done? The reason why a lot of people favored Peter Obi was because they looked at his antecedent and they felt he was more truthful than the others. And then they rallied around him. The reason why a lot of people preferred Bola Tinubu at the time, some of them preferred him based on the policies or his experience, and other people may based on religion and tribe. But that said, our push for 2027 is about awareness creating, but it involves the policies. Because if I ask you, and if you're true to yourself when you hear this, how many of you can remember the policies of Atiku Abubakar in 2023? Or Bola Tinubu's policies, apart from rice, beans, and Gary in 2023? How many of you, and apart from the fact that the part of the policy was it was his turn? But if I ask you about Obi's policies, you can remember some. If I ask you about Shore's policies, you can remember some. Because they interacted with the people based on policies. But there were policies difference between Shore and Peter Obi. And there were policies different between the both of them and Bola Tinubu. And you can see that wherever the country will go is always dependent on the direction of the policies. I'll say that again. Your policies will determine the direction of your country. Take Trump, for example. Trump talked about increment in tariff in 2023 in the last election, rather 2024, I mean. And now he's enacted those tariff increment, and you can see the far-reaching effect of those policies. The same thing Bola Tinubu did without empirical data. He said subsidy was done on day one without having those data, and it crashed the economy. The currency has been floated. The Naira has been devalued. Even some of the things that Buhari could not even do, Bola Tinubu did them. And then you can see where Nigeria is. And then we're talking about reforms. But Nigerians are suffering the pinch of it. So if we're going to go by Shore's assertion in various comments he made, you can check them online. Would it be fair to say that Peter Obi would have crashed the economy just like Bola Tinubu, following the fact that he was going to devalue the currency, It was also going to float the currency. It was also going to remove subsidy. These are the kind of pertinent questions we need to ask our politicians. In spite of our love for them, we need to ask them these same questions because we are going to feel the pinch of their policies. Just like the world is feeling the pinch of Trump's tariff right now. And there are suggestions of recession going to happen globally because of this tariff war. That's exactly the same thing we need to bring back home as well. What are the policies these guys are bringing on board? Bola Tinubu did not go for any of the interview you wanted them to be in. He didn't tell you what he was going to do for you. You cannot quote him on any TV station where he said he was going to do, apart from saying he was going to take away your spending power, which he has done. And then you can see the effect of it. He said he was going to reduce the spending power of the people and then bring prices down. But you can see your spending power has been taken away. Prices are not down. So those are the questions we want to ask. We need to interact these people's policies. We need to interact their history. We need to also interact their antecedents, what they stood on for, what they stood up for before, so that we know we're having to elect people with credibility, people with character, with competence, with the capacity. The key thing here is competence, because your competence and your policies, they go hand in hand. So that's why I'm asking you these intelligent questions, if you think them to be intelligent questions anyway. And I want you to provide the answers in the comment section. By the way, do you agree with Naira devaluation, the floating of the currency, removal of subsidy, as Peter Obi said he was going to do in 2023, and as Peter Obi eventually did when he got to be in power, and as Omoyele said, it was not going to agree to, it won't remove subsidy because it affects the poor Nigerians especially. Do you agree with all of it? These are the kind of questions we need to ask individuals ourselves so that we can bring forth the best candidate and throw our weight behind the best candidate, whether you are for Peter Obi, whether you're for Omoyele Sowore, or you're for the coalition SDP and co forming. We need to interact their policies. These are the kind of awareness we need to create so that when we're speaking to those people who are not as intellectually sound as you may be or you think you are, you can help break them down to let them understand these are the reasons why you want to support this person and make sure you don't sell your vote to this person. These are the kind of awareness we need to create. So as I said before, you might have seen this video, but ask yourself, did you really ask these questions when you watched this video? In this interview by Peter Obi during the Arise TV interview he had. Let's bring these questions to the comment section. Let's make sure we elect the right set of people. Take example, during the 2023 election, the rush for the obedient. They took everybody that came, no matter where they're coming from. One of those people is the Edo South Senator, Neda Emaswen. But we can see the story following him right now, including the Natasha Akpoti suspension and the role he played in making sure that they suspended her by not following the right process, by taking people's signature on attendance or that they attended the hearing, and then he used that to mean that they ascribed or they joined in his suspension of it, of Natasha from the Senate. Can you see the kind of characters we're talking about? So we need to interact there and investigate their policies, their person, and where they're coming from so that we elect the right people, not the kind of president that we have right now, where there's a state of emergency that he called and there are killings of Nigerians in Nigeria. And somebody has actually assessed his presidency and called it terrible. But the man took a working break to France for 2 weeks to go and invest, to go and give himself a scorecard and appraise himself. We don't want people who take us for a ride anymore. We want to let them know we've come of age, where we can ask them the right questions. How many of your senators or your lawmakers have actually had a town hall with you since they became elected? How many of them the government give them money for constituency projects, which I think is foolish because they're meant to make laws and they're meant to use their own push laws to help bring prosperity to their locality, their constituency. But yet they get given money for constituency projects. How many of you have asked them how many of those projects they've done? So let's ask this simple question about their policies, what they think. That would help us bring about the right set of leaders that will help push Nigeria in the right direction. It will be prosperity for me, for you, for our children, and our children yet unborn. So put your comments in the comment section and let us know what you think about these questions we've asked. If you agree with Peter Obi's stand on Naira devaluation or floating of the currency or subsidy removal, or if you agree with Omoyele's stand that you don't remove subsidy, why are you taking it off? Or about what is the best time to even do these policies if you believe in them? Removal of subsidy, floating the currency, devaluing the currency. And how would you go about production anyway? Give us data. Give us how you're going to go about it. Let's hear it in the comment section, okay? And as always, if you're meeting this content for the first time, like, share, and subscribe. And if you've been following us and you've not yet subscribed, please do so. Subscribe. Participate in the comments as well. Let's make this conversation intelligent. And let us know whether or not you support this thinking and this idea, or do you agree, like I asked before, that Peter Obi would have crashed the economy just like Bola Tinubu did with this same policy that Bola Tinubu is actually doing because Obi sort of agreed to them. Let's have this conversation in the comment section. As always, God bless you and catch you up in the next video. Bye-bye for now.